Hi, this is Ian Westerman, head pro at EssentialTennis.com. Welcome to episode number 20 of Ask Ian. And today we're going to be answering a question from Comedy Kids 101 on YouTube, who wrote to me and said, "Hey Ian, I want to know how to actually return a kick serve. Thanks." Well, a kick serve can be really tough, and that's really one of the main reasons why I like to teach my students how to hit with topspin. It doesn't necessarily even have to be like a pure, literal kick serve, but just adding some topspin to your service motion, especially second serve, can be a huge benefit because the ball comes up, and if you hit it well enough, out of your opponent's strike zone. It can be very difficult to manage. So to answer that question, you really have two main options. A third one, really, if you want to be technical, but two main ones. And the whole point here, the goal, is to make contact with that return of serve in a place that's comfortable. The server has done a good job hitting a serve that gets out of our strike zone, out of our comfort zone, and now we need to make an adjustment to try to turn the tables on them and get it back into an area where it's relatively comfortable for us to hit. So main option number one is back up, to allow the ball to come up all the way and then hopefully come back down again so that it's back at a reasonable height for us to make contact, to where we can hit an effective shot. Now, the pros to that are it gives us a little more time to react to the bounce, which can definitely be helpful if it's a tough kick serve. And it can also give us the space to allow the ball to drop. But it might not necessarily. It depends on how good of a kick serve we're talking about exactly. And that leads me to the cons, the possible cons of backing up to adjust for this. Con number one is you might not have enough space back there to actually back up far enough to allow it to drop. Again, depending on the quality of the kick serve. You may back up 10 feet, but if we're playing against a relatively high-level player who's got a lot of racket head speed, the ball still might be high, even though we've taken ourselves 10 feet further back behind the baseline. Also, by backing up, we give our opponents a whole lot of time, and we give them a lot of space to react to our shot. And it makes it that much more difficult for us to hit an effective ball back with that return of serve, because we've just created that much more distance between us and our intended target. So really, our opponent is kind of hoping that we pick this option and we back way up, give them a ton of space, a ton of time, and make it that much more difficult for us to hit a high-quality shot back. So main option two is to move forwards. And probably every ounce of your being is going to be yelling at yourself, "No, don't move forwards. This is a tough serve. Why would I want to get closer to the bounce?" But the goal here is to hit the ball as it's coming up. It still hasn't gotten so high that it's difficult for us to hit and it's outside of our strike zone. It's just at the right height for us to make comfortable contact with. Now, the pros to this option are that, first of all, we get in a comfortable spot as far as height is concerned. And we're now able to strike the ball in our strike zone in a comfortable level, height-wise. Pro number two is that now we're actually taking time away from our opponent. Instead of backing up probably 20 feet further away than where we were after having moved forwards, now we're actually taking time away from our opponent. And if our timing is good and we've practiced this, then we've actually turned the tables on them completely. And we've now taken time away from them. We've moved in. They're reacting to a shot that much faster than what they were expecting. And now we've kind of flipped things on them, and we've put them back on the defense if we do our job well. The cons to moving forwards are it makes it difficult from a timing perspective, because we have a very small amount of time to react to the ball after it's bounced, because we're moving forwards to take it early on the rise as it's coming up off of the court. And so technically speaking, we have very little time to react to the bounce. We have very little time to position ourselves perfectly. And so technically it's much more difficult. It's a much trickier proposition to move forwards. But there's a lot of upside if we do it well. So those are the pros and cons. I will say that a third somewhat viable option is to stay where you are and just practice a high slice return. In some situations, that's totally viable. In other ones, it's really not. If we're playing against let's say, a serve and volley player, or we're playing doubles against a team that has a really aggressive net player, showing them, taking the racket back high and with an open face, if they're good, they're going to see that you're about to slice, and they're going to make you pay for that, unless you just have laser accuracy with that slice. So that's kind of a third outlier option, not one that I recommend. Very generally speaking, if I had to rank these, I would say your first safest option would be to back up. There are cons to that, but probably back up. I would say second, if you're really uncomfortable moving forwards, you can stay where you are and hit the high slice. But really, the number one priority for you in your improvement as a tennis player should be, first and foremost, to practice moving forwards, taking it early, and working on countering the kick serve in that manner, by moving in, taking it sooner, hitting the ball as it's coming up off the court. So, Comedy, let's see, what was it? Comedy Kids 101. Hopefully that answer is helpful to you. And if you've tuned in today, hopefully you've enjoyed this video as well. If so, do me a favor and click like here on YouTube. Also subscribe to the Essential Tennis YouTube channel so you don't miss out on future episodes of Ask Ian, and also tons of pro footage and other instructional lessons, all of which are free here on the Essential Tennis YouTube channel, so subscribe. And if you have any topics or questions that you'd like me to cover in a future episode, you can leave that in the comments down below as well. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Take care and good luck with your tennis.